All right, guys, here we are. This is chapter 6. We're in the This is the reading book, Interactions 1. I'm on page 109. First thing I'll do is I will read the article, Cross-Cultural Conversation. You want to talk about culture? Alain began the conversation in a proud voice. The United States is only a few hundred years old. Americans don't really have any culture. I mean, Americans are interesting, but they have zero culture. He made the sign for nothing with his hand. I agree with you, said Werner. He was pointing at Alain with his finger. Old Europe, of the last 1,000 years. Now that's where great culture was. The age of architecture, the magnificent historical cathedrals and castles are beautiful. It's essential to see the works of world-famous painters and sculptors from previous centuries in our excellent museums. And everyone should experience our classical literature and music in the best theaters and concert halls. Excuse me for interrupting, Alain, Werner apologized, but I just have a perfect example of a long and significant cultural history. Camille spoke up. You know, we don't call a short millennium a cultural history. The real beginning of culture, I mean significant civilization, was in the Middle East and Africa over 5,000 years ago. He continued, waving both hands in the air. Ancient communities not only knew how to create magnificent architecture and art, they also made amazing scientific and technological discoveries. They invented things. For instance, they figured out how to write and to do mathematics. They study astronomy, the science of the skies, the sun, and the planets. They invented the calendar. They even had medicine. The ancient religions came from that area too. Their achievements made world civilization possible. Those were the civilizations that gave humanity the most meaningful cultural legacy. May agreed with Camille. In a soft but knowing voice, she added, but the really important science and technology began to develop in Asia and the Americas. While the ancient Chinese were building walled cities, they organized the first governments. They invented tools for work and weapons for protection. And the native peoples of the Americas had very, very old civilizations and societies. That was ancient traditional culture. Ancient culture? That's a contradictions in definitions, grinning Karen objected in an enthusiastic, friendly way. She gave a contrasting opinion. It's impossible for culture to be old or traditional, she argued. The opposite is true. Culture isn't dead. It's alive. Culture is modern. Culture is now. Kenji was starting to fall asleep, but suddenly he was fully awake. I agree, he said, interrupting Karen enthusiastically. You tell them, said Karen, appreciating the support for her point of view. For emphasis, she nodded vigorously. Culture is worldwide. It's universal. Kenji went on with his clear speaking style. He had a wide smile on his face. I mean, like, take today's food culture. With our global fast food, I have to say, everyone eats the same. And because of the worldwide media, movies, TVs, CDs, the internet, everybody knows the same information, plays the same music, enjoys the same stories, even the jokes. And I mean it. It's like people everywhere want to buy the same clothes, all because of advertising. A beautiful young couple in jeans and bright Hawaiian shirts anywhere in the world, eating hamburgers and French fries with their friends from many countries. Finally, we have a global culture, and tradition has nothing to do with it. Nadia, however, was of another opinion. You want to call modern movies, music, food, and clothes culture? She said sweetly but convincingly. Those things don't describe culture. Culture isn't about the sameness of people in communities around the world. It's about their differences. Like, it's important for people to greet one another in various ways, and they need to use different titles and follow a variety of social rules in their relationships. Some societies are formal, while others are informal or casual. Some groups are friendly and others aren't. And another example is the diverse use of language. Is it direct or indirect? How do communication styles include motions, gestures, facial expressions, and other body language? And customs are so interesting. They're what people of different national groups do in their everyday lives and on special occasions like holidays or celebrations. Culture means cultural diversity. What makes life amusing? It's the variety of cultures around the world. It's contradictions and opposites. Yeah, maybe so, contributed Elaine as politely as possible. On the other hand, he started to say, that does make some sense, interrupted Werner, beginning to smile, as long as you don't forget the arts, architecture, painting, literature, music. And if you also include ancient civilizations and traditions, added Camille with a pleasant expression on his face. He didn't want to contradict Nadia or any of his female friends. Well, we can certainly have opposing viewpoints, concluded Karen, and yet we still enjoy exchanging ideas. Everyone was smiling, and they wanted to talk a lot more. Now, very quickly, though, answer these questions. What were Elaine and Werner's definition? Camille and May's definition? Karen and Kenji's definition? Nadia's definition? And finally, come up with your own idea. What is your definition of culture?